back with the WMAY Morning News Feed. Gotta apologize. I just looked at the email and said, wow, I made a mistake. I thought our next guest was going to join us at 7:50, but actually it was supposed to be 8:10, as it was spelled out in my initial request. So thank them for taking my frantic phone call last half hour, and then also being amenable to still sticking with the time. So joining us now here on the WMAY Morning News Feed, I'm Greg Bishop, is Jesse Sullivan. He is the most recent Republican candidate to announce his candidacy for governor, and he joins us here on the WMAY Morning News Feed, a Petersburg native. He made the official announcement last week at Lincoln's historic New Salem, and he joins us now on the WMAY Morning News Feed. Jesse, thanks for taking time, and I guess explain to us the nickname Sully. Good morning.
Yeah, morning, Greg. Hey, so good to get to talk to you. So my whole life growing up, as you can imagine, not too creative, but my last name's Sullivan. I've been called Sully all the way through. And so, yeah, people of Illinois, feel free to call me anything, but I love the nickname Sully, so feel free to use that one.
Well, is there a newfound kind of affinity for it, especially after Sully Sullenberger made that crash landing into the river there in New York?
You gotta love Sully Sullenberger, man. It's awesome whenever you can get these American heroes that come along, and I love the last name Sullivan. An Irish Catholic family, and my grandpa Sullivan is my hero, and so any way I can be tied to that name, I love it. So
with us here on the WMAY Morning News Feed, there's a lot of people who are familiar with you. Others might not be. You're from Petersburg. It's just down the street from where we're broadcasting right now. You've grown up in this area, but you've also traveled the world. I guess give us a quick elevator pitch of who is Jesse Sully Sullivan.
Yeah, so I went to Porta High School. So born and raised here in Petersburg. I've got about 100 cousins in our count of 2,300 people. Honestly, we lost count of how many cousins there are here because there's so many Sullivans. But I got to go to St. Louis University for my undergrad. And during that time, I was studying theology and medicine. My dad, who's a PE teacher here at Porta, and also, in the Hall of Fame over at Illinois College, and my grandpa in the Hall of Fame over at Western Illinois for playing sports. Sports was always the biggest thing for our family. So I was a sports kid, coach's kid growing up, not a political one. But I was able to go, I also played basketball over at Oxford, which I loved. And, my dad, he would say, man, you're the biggest redneck to ever attend Oxford University. And I think he was right when I was over there. But felt really appreciative to get to go do work in the developing world. It was driven by my faith. And in doing that work, I just felt like, man, I feel called to try to help people who are living in extreme poverty. And I failed my way forward in trying to help through charity and aid, and said, am I really helping lift people up out of this place of need? And eventually realized the best way to do that is creating jobs. And so I went back to business school out in California, and then I came back home about 5 years ago and have been running this organization from Petersburg, which is really a global organization to help lift people up out of poverty through creating jobs and backing the best entrepreneurs. And so, yeah, just super happy to raise my family back here where I was raised, running around in the cornfields and the creeks and all that.
Jesse Sully Sullivan joins us on the WMAY Morning News Feed, a Republican tossing his hat in the ring for governor, and there will be plenty of opportunity to compare you with the other three that are running. So I look to talk with you in the future about that. And just real quick here, are you interested in debating other individuals, regardless of where the stage is, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm someone who, I'm an open book. I'm one of 8 kids in my family, and so I grew up debating and arguing with all of them. It was a form of love in our family. So I really, just passionate about fixing Illinois and making it a better place. And so is I'm a political unknown right now. And so just being able to share my ideas and thoughts on what we need here in Illinois, always happy to do.
Well, and we'll talk about just a couple of issues here that at least have been top of mind for me covering the State House as a reporter and watching how the sausage is made at the State House. And if you're looking to run for governor, want to get your take on some of these issues. But what do you say to those who are critical of you're a newcomer and instead of running for dog catcher locally, you went right to the top of the ticket in Illinois? What experience do you have that will help you if you were to get that job?
Yeah, I think most people like me in Illinois look at our politics and they say, wow, is that broken? You know, just the trust in our government to be able to actually be effective and efficient and helping, you know, use our tax dollars to really provide the services needed. I mean, you just look at the people fleeing the state. And so when you look at like, all right, our politics need to change. And if you think that, hey, they're going great, then you have some other good candidate, current governor you could vote for. But my take is our politics need to be fixed and changed. It's too corrupt. Taxes are way too high. And, you know, just the crime problems up around Chicago, those are the three core areas I'll be focused on. I have some of the national security background doing counterinsurgency work over in Afghanistan that I kind of bring to the perspective on the crime issue and support of our law enforcement. Also, when it comes to corruption, I just feel like moral leadership is so key. And I have these three core values in my life of faith, family, and service. And so my Christian faith has always really driven me personally to say, how can we have honesty and integrity is at the core of who we need to be? You know, and then really on the high taxes front, I just think it's driving so many people out of our state, and we need to create the jobs of the future here in Illinois. And that's what I've been doing and focused on, is helping back entrepreneurs and small business owners to become big business owners, to really be able to create those jobs of the future. So I think I'm going to bring all of those experiences into government. And, you know, when I ask myself about what level I should enter in at, I just really feel like if you want to change Illinois, then you have to change the governor. And I feel like my life experiences have led me to a point that I really do think I could do a good job for our state and turn it around.
Jesse Sullivan with us on the WMAY Morning News Feed, a Republican running for the nomination for governor. And Jesse, I think one thing that we could possibly spend an hour on is how you could use your global governance degree from Oxford University and how that'll play into it. But I think that would take a lot more time to unpack and discuss. So hopefully we can have that conversation in the future as well. But let me get just a couple of quick hit items here from you on some issues that we've been watching at the State House. Of course, the backlog of FOID cards, firearm owner identification cards. You've got some who've waited. I had a woman over the weekend say she finally got her FOID card processed after nearly 2 years. Therefore, you know, the delay is way beyond the 30-day framework there. Should we get rid of the FOID card?
Wow. You know, the way that I approach this issue, so I grew up, you know, here in Central Illinois hunting with my grandpa. And when he passed away, then my older brother and I fought about who gets to have my grandpa's shotgun, you know, and my older brother got it, of course, because he was bigger and stronger than me, but because he's my older brother, and that's the way it should be. But I carry the same weapon now, you know, an M9 Beretta that I carried when I was over in Afghanistan. And so to me, you know, gun ownership, it's not legal gun owners that are the problem in carrying out these, you know, different things going on up in Chicago or these cities. That's happening from illegal gun ownership. I renewed my FOID card not too long ago and had to wait over 3 months, and it's ridiculous. And so, yeah, we definitely need to make changes to that system to make it super efficient and effective for people to be able to get weapons. Legal gun owners should not be having to go through all the hoops they're having to jump through. Well,
should we get rid of the FOID card, though? I mean, Missouri doesn't have that. They've got constitutional carry.
Yeah, I think specific policy stuff, as you know, I just jumped into the race. And so we're putting together a policy team of people who we're going to look at every single policy over time. But I can tell you, just my values are very much in support of, legal gun owners and making that as simple as possible for people to be able to do.
Jesse Sullivan with us on the WMAY Morning News Feed. Another issue that's taken a lot of oxygen out of the room, other than COVID-19, which we'll discuss just briefly here in a moment, but pensions in the state of Illinois. We've got some estimates are $140 billion unfunded, others are $300 billion unfunded, and you also have the retiree health care costs for retired state employees. What's your take on how to address that massive unfunded liability?
Yeah, just such a huge problem. And the reason why it's crowding out spending in other areas that we really need it. I mean, paying that much on this debt is not good for the state of Illinois or the people of Illinois. The way I approach this issue is my dad is a retired school teacher and a public school teacher. So he told me, hey, if you're going to take away my pension, I'm not going to vote for you. And I don't think, not only because of him, would I not do that? But I grew up here in Central Illinois where your word is your bond, And so the government, the state government, wisely or unwisely, made a promise to people. And when you make a promise to people, then you keep good to your word. And so we made a promise to retirees. And so they should know that a benefit earned would be a benefit paid under my administration. And so that's one huge principle I bring to it. The other one is we want it to be solvent for people so we can be good to our word and have enough money to be able to afford it, which means you have to do something about switching over to the way I'm used to the private sector, and they did away with pensions a long time ago to where they switched over to a new system, whether it's 401k system. We're going to dive deeper into the specific policies but it's that principle that we need to be running the state like a business, and running it the way we have right now is not working at all.
We're talking here with Jesse Sullivan. He is a Republican running for governor and a variety of other issues I'm sure we'll touch on in the future. But one thing I do want to get your response to is the vaccine mandates. We've seen President Joe Biden issue mandates, and those rules still forthcoming for employers of more than 100 employees to be vaccinated. You've also got Governor J.B. Pritzker's vaccine mandates that are going to be taking effect later on this week for healthcare educators and college students. How should this be handled when it comes to the public health concerns of COVID-19, but also taking into account those who still have concerns about the COVID-19 vaccine?
Yeah, you mentioned that I launched out at Lincoln's New Salem, and Lincoln's always been a big hero of mine. And Carl Sandburg, who wrote a great book on him and read every word he said he used two words more than any other: freedom and responsibility. I really take those two principles that I would always apply. In this case, in particular, freedom. I think we have been getting so little of it. It feels like we're being encroached upon every single day. Our current governor up in Chicago, we live in a very diverse state, and we elect local leaders for a reason. And I think that decisions, whether masks or whether it's vaccines, the principles I will use is that people should not be treated like the government is their parent. And mandating and forcing actions is not the way that I would handle things. And so we have a current governor that's very centralized in his authority and trying to create mandates. I'm a decentralized person, and you should be pushing decision-making down to the local levels and locally elected leaders. And so, in this vaccine mandate fits really strongly within that. So I would never be mandating the vaccine, but responsibility is the corollary to that, which says everyone needs to be responsible and they need to be looking into the information deeply for themselves, and local leaders weighing out the values of the people that elected them. And so, with that, my wife and I are vaccinated, and we made that choice for ourselves to do it, and felt like it was not only for us, but it was also for our loved ones who did have, underlying conditions that might have put them at risk.
Jesse Sullivan, thank you so much for taking time with us this morning. I imagine it's not going to be the last time we talk. It's going to be a long campaign.
Yeah, I hope not.
June 2022 is when the primary is, and I imagine we're going to hear a lot from you, not just with interviews, but also on the airwaves. So we'll stay in touch, all right?
Hey, sounds great. Thanks so much for having me on here.
Absolutely. It's now 8:25 on the WMAY Morning News Feed, and let's take a look at that forecast. With a high of 89, sunny skies, but overnight